Hello, hello, hello.
And welcome to the Hildebrand Law Firm topic for today.
I'm Kirsten Hildebrand.
And I'm Matt Kaplan.
And I have a question for you, Matt.
What is it?
So I just Googled irrevocable trust.
Great idea.
And I found out that I don't need one.
Oh my goodness. You're just like one of my clients, Kirsten. How dare you?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. When you Google irrevocable trust, did it tell you what type you didn't need?
Well, they listed off like a dozen different types of irrevocable trusts, and they said that I lose all control. They said that I don't own the asset anymore if I transferred into an irrevocable trust. They said that I can't change my beneficiaries. They said that I can't do anything as the grantor at all anymore once it's transferred over.
Well, they are 0 for 4.
Really?
Those are all wrong. And listen.
Are they all wrong all the time?
No.
Okay.
That's a great question. They're not all wrong all the time. However, for most of the irrevocable trusts that we work with and that our clients need, all 4 of those are wrong.
Wow.
Now, there might be some trusts where 1, 2, 3 of those are correct. And we'll get into them in this video. So, Kirsten, if you don't mind, I want to talk about different types of irrevocable trusts.
Very good.
That we talk about for our clients. And so the first one I want to talk about is probably my favorite, which is a third-party special needs trust. I guess tell the audience what you know about those.
A third-party special needs trust is invoked when somebody is potentially or on benefits. If they inherit outright, it's going to be a major problem because they're going to get kicked off those benefits, or at least there's the big risk that will happen, because sometimes the benefit plans will change and the laws will change because the politicians change and we don't know what's happening next. So in order to make sure that doesn't happen, where let's say they're inheriting $200,000 and they're getting kicked off of benefits that's worth far more than that, we put into place a special needs trust that then is irrevocable for them, not necessarily for the grantor or for our client.
Interesting. And so what's interesting about the 4 things that you mentioned earlier, if you say, now, as, maybe I lose control or I can't, retain any benefit from those. Oddly enough, for a special needs trust, I can't retain any benefit. You're right. You can't. Yep. But you're doing that for a reason. You don't need any benefit from it. The whole reason you're putting your asset into a third-party special needs trust is for the benefit of someone else.
Exactly.
And you're maintaining control because you can be trustee of it, or you can choose not to be trustee of it. Totally up to you. But as you can see, just from this first example of a third-party special needs trust, there may be things that you look up. You say, well, I don't want that. Well, in this situation, you do. In this situation, if I'm setting up a third-party special needs trust, no, I don't want that money attached to my Social Security number. What if I get sued? What if I need long-term care? Then all this money going to take care of a loved one is up for grabs.
Right.
So I open up a taxpayer ID on that trust. I deposit whatever money, or I leave after I die, whatever money to that trust. I know that money is safe and will be only used for that person.
That's exactly right. And so it's really a love trust.
Right.
Because it's putting together something for somebody that you truly love, and you want to make sure that individual has supplemental needs met that will allow for them to have a much higher quality of life, that will allow for them to, say, get some things that otherwise they wouldn't be able to get, like better equipment that will help them with their disability, or maybe a new bed, or something that will bring them some comfort, or even travel or vacation. All of those things are allowed under a well-written third-party special needs trust.
And a good example, Kirsten, about when this really came into play is I had a client who was scared about doing estate planning because her son was on a very specific medication that Medicaid was paying $20,000 a month for.
Wow.
And if she were to just pass away and leave him her estate, he would blow through that over the course of about a year and a half and then go right back on Medicaid.
Right.
That's not what mom wants.
Right.
No, mom doesn't want to just replace Medicaid for the time being until he's down to a certain asset level again. Mom would prefer that money to be on the side, used to make his life more comfortable.
And that is really a beautiful thing to allow for that to happen. So yes, so special needs trusts are really, really important. We love to do them here. It's definitely something that we feel like is part of our mission,
Right.
to be able to help families predict and depend on where their funds are going. Now, by contrast, what happens if that person just inherits outright? Is there anything that can be done at that point in time? The answer is typically no. Typically, it's just impossible to undo that. So this is why we put a standalone special needs trust in every single one of our trusts, because you never know when a family member or a loved one who is named in your estate plan actually does have a disability occur. You could be 95 years old in a nursing home, and that could happen. And so making sure that that tool is available to the trustee of your overarching revocable or irrevocable trust, so that then they can implement that, is also a really important element.
And to go with that too, not only third-party special needs trust, there's also first-party special needs trusts.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about those?
So first-party special needs trusts are when I basically open up the special needs trust for myself, and that can be a lot trickier. And then there's typically a look-back period, 5-year look-back period for purposes of Medicaid and possibly also other benefits. So that one is the best you can do if you inherit a bunch of money, is then open up a first-party special needs trust saying, I am disabled, I want to put money in, but then I realize that I'm going to have to spend down some of it.
And where this would come into play too a lot is back when I was doing personal injury, people would get these giant personal injury checks and they're disabled because of the accident. And so a savvy client would put that check into a first-party special needs trust, have somebody else be trustee. So that, again, what you Googled, I can't be trustee of my irrevocable trust. Well, if it's a first-party special needs trust, no, you can't be trustee, nor do you want to. You want someone else to be trustee because you want to have that separation of control, or else the government will say, you have full access to your stuff, so why are we paying for your benefits? And so, getting back to what you Googled earlier, and so these different types of irrevocable trusts, all, especially going to about what Kirsten mentioned at the beginning of the video, they all can address things differently. And one more trust that I want to talk about in this video, not only the special needs trust, but I want to talk about different trusts for maybe giving purposes, like charitable purposes.
Charitable trust.
Right.
Now, why would you open up a charitable trust and fund it before you pass away?
Great question. Because when you pass away and you give money to charity, typically, a lot of the reason that people like to give to charity, obviously it's a wonderful thing, but you get a tax break. People love that tax break. And after you pass away, you're not going to get a tax break on any income because you have income after you pass away. So the question is, well, how do I have money go to my favorite charity after I pass, but still get the tax break while I'm alive? At that point, that's where a few different types of trusts come into play. You have charitable remainder unit trusts, you have different types of annuity trusts that come into play where you can put money into the trust, the money is going to a charity at the end, and you can also do a few different things, and we'll stretch this out in a much longer video later on because the nuances of this are really neat. So you not only have that money going to charity, you get the tax break right up depending on how much is going to the charity, and also you maintain access to income.
Right.
Which is super duper neat. And so if you're Googling irrevocable trusts, are they right for me? And your big goal is to leave a certain amount of money to charity, you might say, oh, well, I don't want to do this. I'll just do, a really easy revocable trust. And that'll accomplish my goal too. No, it won't.
No, it won't.
So
no, it won't.
Let's dive in the next video. Let's dive a little bit more into those charitable trusts.
Yes, for sure. And so the lesson for today is maybe I shouldn't be Googling things quite as much as I am, right?
Right.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We are here for your today and your future.